What is up, guys? My name is Lex, still here at Best Bet in Jacksonville. Yesterday on Friday, we drove up here, played on a 5-10-25 live stream. It was a huge, massive game, and unfortunately, just like I always run on live streams, we lost pretty big. I lost the biggest pot of my entire life, over $11,000 in the middle, and we lost it. Ended up losing over $4,000 yesterday playing 5-10-25, 5-10-25, 50, but to be honest, I feel pretty good about my plays. I don't think I punted, I didn't get out of line pre-flop, I didn't make any bad, terrible call downs. I basically called when I was ahead, and I folded when I was behind, so I feel pretty good with that. And I also feel good about the fact that I didn't play scared money either. In the past in Texas, I was playing huge live streams, and I felt a little bit like I was playing scared money, like the game was too big for me, but yesterday felt very comfortable. And you know, sometimes you just run bad, but we are back here on a Saturday, gonna be playing some 2-5, 5-10, hopefully get some of that money back. Let's get down to the table, let's get to the action, let's go. We step into Jacksonville Best Bet around 3 p.m. and they start up a new 2-5 game. I buy in for $800, which is the max. Let's get started. First hand, there's a cutoff open to 15. The button 3 bets to 50, and I have pocket nines in the small blind. The cutoff is opening up a lot of hands, and the button knows that, so he may be 3-betting with a wider range, trying to isolate this player in position. So with pocket nines, I could have the best hand here a lot of the time, so I decided to go with a 4-bet here to $150. Looking to either take this money down pre-flop or go heads up to the flop. This is a pretty light 4-bet here, but given the fact that it's a cutoff and a button 3-bet, I think I can get this through a lot of the time, which ends up happening. Let's say it was an under the gun open and an under the gun +1 3-bet. I would just fold pocket nines, but with later position opens here, I feel like it's a good spot to put in a 4-bet squeeze. Switching tables, it's a straddle pot. I have ace king in early position. I make it $30. I get 3 callers, 4 ways to an ace high board. Pretty good for us. I continue for $60 and only get 1 call out of the hijack. The turn is a deuce, total brick. I continue for a pretty big sizing for this game, $115. I would say one of the easiest ways to make money in low stakes poker is just make a hand and bet it. Seems pretty simple, right? My opponent calls pretty quickly. Given the fact that he did not raise, I can discount him from having any 2 pairs or sets. There's a flush draw on board. He would definitely be raising those stronger hands. So when the river comes at 10, does bring in 9-7 for a straight and 2 pair with ace 10. I end up asking him how much he has behind. He has about $400 left, so I don't want to check and have him check behind ace queen or ace jack or a weaker ace. So I bet smaller here, according to the size of the pot. I make it $150. Turns out this time though, $150 is too much for him. He ends up letting his cards go. After this, they call a new 5-10 game, so I head up to that table, buying for $3,000. My first thoughts is that everybody at the table looks like they know how to play poker. There is one PLO player who's giving a ton of action, so hopefully we can get into a pot with him. There's an under the gun straddle in this next hand. I raise to $75. I have pocket jacks in the big blind. I want to be raising with my strong hands, especially out of position. Let's build this pot up. I make it $250. Folds back to the initial raiser, and he folds. After this hand, I watched the PLO action player bluff off over $2,000 with king high, and this next hand, he makes it $50 under the gun. Cutoff makes a call. We look down at pocket aces in the big blind. I re-raise to $250. He makes a call, and the cutoff player makes a fold. Heads up with pocket aces against a crazy action player. I will take it. Flop is king, king, 8, 2 diamonds. I continue for a smaller sizing here of $150, trying to keep him in there with basically every hand that he calls with pre-flop. The action player decides he does not want to play for $150. He wants to play for $400. He raises me here to $400, and he only has about $500 behind. So he could be doing this with some pocket pairs, trying to see where he's at. He could have some flush draws, maybe a king sometimes or pocket eights, but given his stack size against this player, I decided to just rip it all in for his last $500, and looking back, I do think that this is a slight overplay. I should just call here and allow this action player to bluff the turn. I have the ace of diamonds on my hand, so I block all the nut flush draws he can have that he would call with. So against this particular player, I think a call would have been good, allowing him to just blast off on most turn cards. He ends up letting this hand go, and we do take down a pretty sizable pot. Moving along here, the action player from the last hand is in the small blind. There's an early position raise to $30. I have ace queen of hearts in the cutoff. I decide to 3-bet here to $100. Action player in the small blind makes the call, and now the initial raiser, who raised to $30, puts in a 4-bet He re-raises here to 425 bucks. The early position player started the hand with $2,000. The small blind action player started the hand with about $500. So if I call here, I'm pretty sure the small blind will just go all in for his $500 stack. And we'll be playing a massive pot with ace queen suited, but what can this early position player have? He raised to $30, I re-raised him, and now he is re-raising me. I feel like it's mostly kings and aces and ace king. So I make a pretty tight fold here. Small blind player goes all in, so they're playing over a $1,000 pot, and I'm kicking myself when the board comes queen high until the early position player shows pocket kings, so we faded a pretty big disaster on that one. Unfortunately, after this, the action player does not rebuy, so we're stuck here with about 7 good competent players. Not the best game to be in. After this, I get pocket kings in the small blind. I put in a 3-bet after an open of $30, and he folds, and we end up calling it a night. I go to the cage and end up cashing out, profiting over $600 in about 3 hours. Alright guys, it is now 3 days later. It is Tuesday. We are back here at Seminole Hard Rock to play a poker session 5-10 and 10-25 today. But there's a hand I have to tell you guys about that I played 2 days ago. That was pretty insane. So I left Jacksonville on Saturday, the session you guys just watched, took the rest of that night off, came in here the next day on Sunday, trying to get some of my money back from that big $4,500 loss on the live stream. I was playing 5-10-25. I was stuck like $500 or $600 before a massive pot comes up. There's a maniac at our table who's playing every single hand. He's raising, he's bluffing, he's in for like $8,000. At the time he had a little over a $4,000 stack. There's a cutoff raise to $75. The button calls $75, and now the maniac in the small blind re-raises to $400. I'm in the straddle with pocket queens with a little bit less than $5,000 in my stack. So in this spot, cutoff open, button call, small blind 3-bet with pocket queens. It's just a slam dunk 4-bet against potential crazy cards that the maniac can have. So I re-raise to $900, cold 4-bet with pocket queens, folds back to the small blind. The maniac, he quickly makes the call, so we end up going heads up in position in a 4-bet pot. It comes out 10, 8, 4, 2 spades. I'm expecting him to check to me, but that doesn't happen. He leads right out for $2,000. $2,000 into about a $2,000 pot. Now he could be doing this with top pair, flush draws, open-ended, pocket jacks, maybe ace queen, ace king. As a bluff, he could have kings and aces as well. But given the fact that he only has $1,700 behind, what am I gonna do? I rip it all in there for $4,500, whatever he has left, and he makes the call. So the pot is now almost 10K with pocket queens. We ran out the board 2 times. He shows pocket kings, so pretty big cooler, like almost a $10,000 pot I lost there. So within a matter of 2 days, I lost an $11,000 pot at Jacksonville, and then I came home here and lost like a $10,000 pot here. So things not really going my way lately. I want to show you guys the ups and the downs, so I want to be real with you guys. I want to show you guys when I'm winning, and I also want to show when I'm losing too. Poker is not always easy. Poker is just not flopping sets, making straights, and winning huge hands all the time. So unfortunate there, losing like 10K in about 2 sessions, but we're back today, playing again here at the Seminole Hard Rock. Hopefully we can run better. Let's get down to the table. Let's get to the action. Let's go. Getting started here at the 5-10 game, I have pocket nines. Cutoff makes it $35. I call in the small blind, and the big blind makes the call as well. Our first flop here at Hard Rock is King 9-5 rainbow. We make a set. I check, big blind checks, and cutoff bets $55. I think the cutoff player is going to be c-betting here with probably 80 to 90% of his range on this dry board, so I don't want to raise here just yet and scare him away with hands that he may even be drawing dead with. So I make the call, and the big blind makes the call as well. The turn is kind of a sketchy card. It's a jack of spades. This does bring in queen 10 for a straight. I check, big blind checks, and now the cutoff continues for a large sizing of $275 when he bets the flop, gets 2 callers, and now continues here on the turn. He's going to have a pretty strong hand or a big combo draw like a flush and straight draw. So when he bets this sizing, I think he can have some 2 pairs, maybe a set of kings, possibly a set of jacks, maybe ace king or aces. I consider what sizing I want to raise or if I just want to call. The cutoff player and I have a ton of history together, been playing poker for about 3 years. We don't normally battle against each other. We try to stay out of each other's way. So if I put in a big hefty check raise on this turn card, it might let him off the hook with hands like aces, ace king, king queen, him knowing that I'm probably not bluffing multi-way here. So I decide to just continue to trap with my set and make the call, which I think is most likely a mistake. I should just be raising here, trying to get the money in. By raising, I can get value from all of his 1 pairs, his 2 pairs, and his big combo and flush draws. I can also price out the big blind, who may have some of those hands as well. The big blind, however, makes the fold, and we're heads up, out of position to the river, which is the 8 of spades. The backdoor flush gets there. I check, and he eventually checks back and shows pocket aces, and I am kicking myself here. Man, I wish I would have just raised on the flop. I probably could have won a much bigger pot. I'm pretty unhappy with the way I played this hand. Definitely a lesson to be learned. When you have a big hand, you gotta bet it. You can't count on anybody else to bet for you. Next up, we play a $50 bomb pot. Everybody puts in 50 bucks. We get Jack 10 offsuit. The flop is Jack high. We make top pair. Early position player leads out for $175. I call. Cutoff player calls, and under the gun player calls as well. So a massive pot here to the turn, which is a 5. Early position player continues to bet now for $275, and with a jack, with a 10 kicker, multi-way, and a bomb pot, I just let this one go before the cutoff puts in a raise to around $600. I'm glad I got out of there with my jack 10. Early position player who bet on the flop and on the turn now shows me he has jack 3 for 2 pair, he thinks for a while, and makes the call. The river is an ace. Early position player checks. Cutoff player bets big. An early position player folds, and the cutoff player shows jack 5 for a better 2 pair, so pretty great fold there by the early position player.
Show on. Show on.
Oh, wow. Look at that.
Show on. So you just show him. Good show him. Show him up.
Nice hand, man. Nice hand.
Go back. Check 5.
Next up, we're playing 7-handed. I have pocket 3s under the gun +1. Sometimes I would fold this hand, but given the fact that the table is not too aggressive, I don't think I'll get 3-bet very often. I make it $35. Get 3 callers. Let's hit a red 3 one time. Not this time. 6, 7, 8, rainbow. I check. Early position player checks. Later position player puts out a bet, and we fold. After this, they start a new 10-25 game where there's an action player sitting to my right whose net worth is probably higher than the cost of making this entire guitar hotel, so we gotta sit down and play. We start out with a $5,000 stack, and we're doing $50 straddles under the gun. Button makes it $125. Action player in the small blind calls. I re-raise with pocket jacks to $650. Button makes to fold, but the small blind player wants to see a flop. He makes the call. The wealthy action player in the small blind got extremely unlucky a few hands ago. Ace-king versus ace-king all in pre-flop for a $10,000 pot, and he lost, and that's going to come into factor here later on in this hand. The board is queen 10-6, 1 overcard to our pair, but it's really not that bad of a board. He shouldn't have many 2 pairs or sets on this board because he would be 3-betting queens and 10s pre-flop, and I would say queen 10 is the only 2 pair he can have. Now, of course, he can have some queen X holdings, but I think he would also 3-bet ace-queen pre-flop as well. And we have 2 jacks in our hand, so we block queen jack. So I feel pretty confident betting here with the best hand. I make it $400, and he makes the call. The turn 5 of spades, he checks over to me. I contemplate continuing to bet here for value from his 10s, his smaller pocket pairs, or his gut shots, but I decide to check back for pot control and potentially bluff catch on the river. The final card is a 4. It does bring in 7-8 for a straight, but it really shouldn't change much of anything other than that. I guess it could improve him to some 2 pairs like 6-4 or 5-6, but he shouldn't have that very often. He does decide to lead out now for $1,000, and we are in a pretty gross spot. A 3-bet pot with pocket jacks on a queen high board. The board ran out definitely in his favor. He can have a lot more 2 pairs, sets, and straights than I will, but against this player, sometimes you just got to close your eyes and make the call, and if he's got you, he's got you.
When you get a chance,
I thought you said we could change it already.
he reset it, which is what I had asked for. Now it's not, it was working, now it's not so much. Jacks.
I make the call. My opponent tells me if I have a pair, I am good, so jacks takes down this pot, which is good for me. I definitely need the money a lot more than this guy does. We end up playing one more hand here where I'm in the big blind. I make it $200 with 5-4 of spades, and the $50 straddle makes the call. Flop is jack, deuce, deuce, 1 spade, 2 diamonds. I check. He checks back. Turn 4 of diamonds. I lead out for a pot-sized bet, and my opponent makes the fold. Look at that. Little bit of run good there. Just found $5 on my way out. Not too bad. That is it for this one, guys. A two-part vlog playing at Jacksonville Best Bet and then here at Seminole Hard Rock 510, 1025. Before we go though, I have two more hands I want to share with you guys from my 510 game. The first one, I have 5-3 of diamonds in the big blind. Cutoff makes it 40. Small blind calls 40. I call 40 in the big blind. We flop a pair and an open end, no, pair and a gut shot on 4, 5, 7, 2 hearts. So we have middle pair, gut shot, straight draw, small blind checks, I check, initial raiser in the cutoff, checks. Turn king of clubs, doesn't help us at all, small blind checks, I check, and now the cutoff player bets $80. I think he's gonna be doing this with all of his king X hands, all of his ace high bluffs, his flush draws, or just total air once both of us check to him. The small blind calls $80, and I feel like this is a spot I could put in a potential semi-bluff raise. I think I'm gonna have all the sets and 2 pairs and straights on this board, and the way the hand was played out, I don't think the cutoff player ever has a strong hand when he checks back the flop and then now bets on the turn, and when the small blind only calls the bet on the flop or the turn, I don't think he has that strong of a hand either. So I decided to do a semi-bluff here. I raise it up to $300. Cutoff calls $300, unfortunately, and small blind folds. So we're looking to either get there with 2 pair, a straight or something, or bluff on the river. The final card is a 6 of clubs. So we make the 3 high straight, pretty good for us, but the backdoor flush does get there. I go back and forth whether I want to bet here or check call, and I think this particular player I should be betting, and then if he raises, I could probably fold. So I end up betting $400, which I think is a little bit big in hindsight. Any 8 makes a straight, the backdoor flush gets there. Does he really call? You know, $400 with a king, maybe. He ends up thinking for a while, and raises me to $1,400. So gross spot here with just a 3 high straight, backdoor flush gets there, and 8 makes a straight. I end up tank folding, and he shows me an 8 for a better straight. So a little unfortunate there. We got out of line pre-flop with the 5 high call. We put in a check raise and we got there on the river, but unfortunately it was no good. So I got one more hand for you guys, playing 5-10 again. Under the gun raises to $35. He says he watches the videos, so I'm gonna give him some action on the button with queen 9 of diamonds. I make the call. Small blind calls, big blind calls, 4 ways to a flop of 4, 4, 5, 2 clubs, I think. Maybe 1 club. Anyway, the action goes check, check, check to me with queen high, no backdoor, flush draw, I just check behind. Turn is a queen, giving me top pair, small blind checks, big blind bets $75, under the gun initial raiser calls $75, and with top pair here with a 9 kicker, it's kind of close. Pretty sure one of my opponents has a queen, but it is possible that one of the players has a straight draw and the other player has a flush draw, or vice versa, and one of them semi-bluffing, the other one's calling with a draw, and I might have the best hand. If I raise here, I can get value out of those worst hands like straight draws and flush draws, and I can basically check back any river that's not a queen or a 9. So I go for like a value raise slash blocker raise on the turn. I make it $225. I can get called by worse hands like straights and flush draws, and if I do get called once or twice, I can just check back any river and not face a big bet. So I make it $225. Big blind calls $225. Initial raiser calls $225 as well. So I know right away I am most likely behind until the river is a 9. We make top 2 pair. Now, of course, if one of my opponents has a trips or a full house, we're dead, but it goes check, check to me, so I feel pretty comfortable betting here. I'm hoping one of them has a queen. I make it $500. Big blind thinks for a while and ends up folding, and under the gun snap calls. I show queen 9 of diamonds for top 2 pair, and he shows queen jack. So we got very lucky there on the river to take down a pretty big pot, but we needed it. Had a rough go of it the last couple days. Ended up winning $1,900 today, and then about $600 at best bet on Saturday too. So not too bad. I would take it clawing back after that like 10K downswing or something like that. But hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, hit that like button, comment down below. All of these videos take a ton of work, and I hope you guys enjoy it. I'm gonna try to keep putting out 2 videos just like this every single week, but that is it for this one. Until next time, I'll see ya.